Hi, welcome to Ideas Box. I'm Jimmy and today's video is about a fence wire tensioner I've made and used on our property. It isn't my design, it's another thing I've seen which I've copied. If you've seen my video on the cam style axle jack, then you'll know what I mean. If you haven't, go back and check it out, it's not a bad video. I don't remember where I saw this fence wire tensioner, maybe the internet or an agricultural magazine. Either way, I decided to have a go and copy it and it works pretty well. It does have one limitation, which I explain in the video. Anywho, let's get into it. This is what it looks like when it's used, so let's have a look at how I'd go about that. This is the drawing that I work from. When I bend these up, I try to get these dimensions correct and this dimension correct. This dimension here isn't so critical. So if you get that right and get that right, this can vary a fair bit. It really doesn't matter that much. 50 is good, like 40 or 30. 30 will just work, but 50 is good. So there's a little bit of leeway with how you make these, how you bend them up. And I'll show you the steps I use to do that now, because I've tried different ways and there are certain bends that if you do this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one, and then this one, it's just easier to get it in the vise and to get the bends right. And here I'll show you what I mean now. Just a quick note, if we start off with a piece about 160 millimeters long, that's 160, don't mind my handwriting, you end up with just the right amount of material to make this, so I'll show you how that's done now. I've tried different material in the past. Some steels are actually too soft and they tend to bend out of shape. So I find this thin reinforcing rod steel is quite good. So what does that look like? That's maybe 6 and a bit, so what, probably 1/4 inch, who knows. But that piece there, if I cut that off there, that's 160-ish and that'll work just fine. And then I take it over to the grinder and I just take all those shitty sharp edges off, just so you're not catching yourself on them. Right, now I've got rid of those sharp edges. Let's see how I bend this thing up. So that first bend at the top there is at 40, so you whack a ruler on there, make a little pencil mark at 40, then you put it in there, at about that pencil mark. None of this stuff is super exact, we're not making space shuttles. Now, never try and just bend a piece of rod from the top, because all you'll end up is with a big curve. If you put something tight fitting over it and you bend it, look at that nice sharp bend you get, but it's got to go right back against itself. So you put that in there. Now that should catch on the back there. There it goes. So you fold that, can you see that? You fold that kind of right back on itself. About as far as it'll go really, about there. You put that in there, leaving about 15 millimeters of that back. You put that in there about there. Bend that out on itself like that. A bit of judgment, it's not exact science. Then what I find is to close that gap there up better, if you put a piece in there like that, another piece of rod, pushes on a specific point about there. Oh, that's going to ping out. Got to get it to sit just right or it'll shoot out and someone will lose an eye. So now we've sort of got that piece there made. So about 10 mil back from there. So about there. Like I said, once again, this isn't an exact science. Get that there like that. There we go. We've more or less got that bit there made. It's not too bad. So then you come along. So then you come along to about there. Put a pencil mark. Now that bends back the same way as that. So it'll go into about there. So that's they're kind of parallel. What I might do, I might just squeeze that one up a bit to make it a bit more parallel. A bit more at 90 degrees to that long piece there. There we go. So now that one there, this one here, needs to come off at an angle about like that. So we'll pop that in the vise. And because this will twist along its length, this is quite an easy bit to bend. About like that, maybe. Yep. There. Now, so far we've got it like that. But this end, viewed from the end, has to be a slight V. So it has to go like, I'll show you. It's probably easier to show you. You put that in there like that. So that's got to bend back. That's got to bend back. So that tip is about the same plane as these 3 points here. I'll show you what I mean. You put that in like that. About there. And this one you do with a hammer. So that's it there now. That's the V I was talking about. That's probably a little bit shallow, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. Actually, what I might do is I'll give that a wee bit more. There we go. I've pretty much made that with the V on the end. So the depth of that isn't super critical. That's probably a bit sharp, to be honest. So now we'll take the tool up to the fence and I'll show you how that works. What you might have to do is you have to look at that gap there. You've got to be able to get the fencing wire through that gap there. So sometimes if it looks a bit small, I'll just open that up a wee bit with a chisel. Just spread it out a wee bit. There we go. So the important part is that you've got a little angle there to hold the wire there, and then that will hook over the wire. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. This is the tool that I use to apply those little wire tensioners. Basically the wire goes through the slot there, and then you put that on like that, and you wind that around the wire, and it tensions the wire up, and then so you get half a turn at a time, and then you sort of hook that piece over the wire, and it winds the wire around this part of the, I don't know, I suppose you call it a tensioner. It winds the wire around that part of the tensioner. And the only drawback with these is you get half a turn at a time. So whatever wire that takes up, which would probably be a couple of inches to be honest, so it's not super fine. It works pretty well. Let's take the camera up to the fence and I'll put one of these on and I'll show you. And I'll show you what I did wrong with another one that I made a few years ago as well. There's one that I made a few years ago, and as you can see, the wire that I use, or the steel rod that I use, is actually too soft. It wasn't anywhere near strong enough. There's another one that I made, and that one was fine. And this stuff here was just a much softer steel, so it hasn't worked. So I'll probably take that one out and fit this new one that I've made, and I'll show you how that's done. So these are how these are applied. The wire goes in that slot there, which is why I said it had to be just the right width. You put your windy tool in there. Now, bearing in mind you have to wind that way because it's going to want to spring back and hook on there. So there's a bit of a turn. And that's it. That's that wire. That's tight enough for this fence because it's not really a stock fence. But like I said, you get half a turn at a time, so they're not really fine. And I think they place a lot of strain on the wire. But these ones over here, those ones there have been there for quite a few years and they haven't shit themselves yet. So I found that making them from reinforcing rod works pretty well. My hand's just behind that so the camera can focus, otherwise it's trying to focus on the grass behind. But as you can see, the wire goes through the center, just there, gets wound around, and this little hook piece hooks over the wire, and that's what takes up the tension on the wire. That's not too bad now. It's about the same as the other ones. In fact, that top one, I wonder if I might put another turn on that top one. Let's see if we can do that without the wire breaking. This one's been here for several years, and I don't know. Do you know what? I don't reckon I'm going to get another wind out of that one. I reckon that wire will break. Yep, I reckon that might have to stay. There we go. Got it. And that wire is quite tight now. Here's another look at it from the other side. So the wire goes in through there. Put the winder tool in through there. And then you wind it this way because once again, it's going to want to spring back and hook into there. So it goes round like that. And that's it, done like that. So that wire now is quite tight. And as you can see, it hooks in there and it stays in that little crook in there. So that should be right now for quite a while. These other ones here that I showed earlier, I've checked my photos and I actually did them in December 2015. So they're nearly 8 years they've been there and they've worked fine. The tool I've made from just a length of Rio, because this was just one of those ones, see if it works and then make a better tool, but this one works pretty well so I haven't bothered. And that's just an old screwdriver tip that I've just drilled a hole through, hammered that through and welded that. And yeah, that hasn't broken yet, so like lots of things, if it ain't broke don't fix it, so I'll probably keep using this until it breaks and then I'll make a fancier one. I haven't bothered putting like a rotating handle on that because it really only goes round half a turn or one turn, so it's not like it's hard work. So that's the tool that I made. I'm not sure what's that, about 300 millimeters from that corner to that corner there, then probably 150 and 100. So yeah, just make it from whatever you've got left lying around, and just an old screwdriver. Never throw anything out, you never know when you might need it.
Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe it's something you could use on your fencing too. Make sure to click like and subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell also. Well, I reckon that's it for today, so bye for now.